second stage was about the future. And the future of finding information on the internet is murkier than ever. While this battle was playing out in the courtroom, there was a different battle playing out in Silicon Valley between titans like Google and smaller startups to dominate what had become an AI boom. And ultimately, the fight outside of the courtroom made its way into the courtroom. And the judge in this case had to adjust to this new reality, and ultimately, it changed the course of the case.
We'll be right back. Deal's not just another payroll platform. It's one your team might actually enjoy. HR, IT, and payroll. Together, finally. Built in-house. Built for peace of mind. Visit DEEL.com/NYT.
My name is Thomas Gibbonsneff. I'm a journalist at the New York Times. I served in the Marine Corps as an infantryman. When it comes to reporting on the front line, a lot of the same basics are at play. You're looking at the map of where you're going. If you're on a paved road, field roads, is there a hospital nearby? Is your body armor affixed with a first aid kit? Does everyone know where that first aid kit is? We arrive into a military position. I get out of the car. I look at my watch. I set a timer. No more than an hour. I'm listening for drones, jets, checking with the team. Is everyone working? And if they are, then we proceed. Frontline reporting is dangerous, but I think nothing is more important than talking to the people involved, hearing their stories and being able to connect that with people thousands of miles away. Anything that can make something like this more personal, I think, is well worth the risk. New York Times subscribers make it possible for us to keep doing this vital coverage. If you'd like to subscribe, you can do that at nytimes.com/subscribe.
Then that theoretical idea turned into reality. In November of 2022, as this case is barreling towards trial, OpenAI releases ChatGPT. And I think people know what happened next. This explosion of AI chatbots. These products where you can ask it a question, it responds as though it's a human, they can spit out and generate images. And money starts pouring into this space. Companies start investing in the construction of data centers and other infrastructure that's required for this technology. Venture capitalists start funding more and more of these startups. And it is exactly at this moment that this case, which is about how, for a decade, information had worked online, goes to trial.
Can you just explain a little bit more? What does the data that you're talking about have to do with Google's efforts with AI, and what the remedy should be for whether it's illegally enforcing a monopoly?
So, Google Search is built on reams and reams of data and information. Basically, a map of the internet. Generative artificial intelligence models are also built on data and information, right? These large language models ingest a ton of information, a ton of text, so that they can then generate these responses to your questions. And so suddenly, there's a question about whether or not the advantage that Google has had and maintained in search can basically transmute into an advantage and dominance in artificial intelligence. But of course, that hasn't really happened yet. Google really is under challenge from companies like OpenAI and Perplexity. They have their own chatbot, Gemini, but it is not the dominant chatbot.
Right, there are a million AI companies, or at least what feel like a million AI companies that have sprung up that people are asking questions to.
Yeah, I was just in San Francisco, and all the billboards and ads in the airport are about AI. And we know these products. There's Claude, there's Grok, there's ChatGPT.
And we should just note here that the New York Times has sued ChatGPT's parent company, OpenAI, and one of its investors, Microsoft, claiming copyright infringement of news content related to these AI systems, and the two companies have denied the suit's claims. But please continue.
That's right. And consumers have started to change their behavior because of these chatbots. They're now using them like they might have used a search engine. They're asking it questions that they might have previously asked Google.
Yes, and I feel like I'm very frequently going to Gemini or ChatGPT and asking a question I might have normally asked Google.
Right, and this transformation is starting to play out as this case gets underway, but it doesn't come phase of the trial.
The first phase being when the judge says, yes, I've determined that you're acting illegally.
That's right. But as soon as he triggered the second phase of the trial, the how do I fix this phase of the trial, suddenly he has to face this transformation of the tech industry head on.
How so?
Because now Google could come into the courtroom and say, look, the rise of these AI products proves that the market is working, that you do not need to make some radical intervention. And on the flip side, the government came into his courtroom and said, if you do not act aggressively, Google will use the tactics it used to illegally protect its monopoly in search and use them to monopolize and dominate artificial intelligence.
Basically, they will use one monopoly to create another monopoly.
Precisely.
What is the judge's actual remedy here?
I would think of this in two different buckets.
Okay.
Remember the deals that Google did with Apple, Mozilla, and Samsung to be that automatic search engine that comes up in your browser or your smartphone?
Yes, I do.
So this is at the heart of the case.
Okay.
And I think it's something that a lot of people thought the judge would ban outright because it was so central to the government's case, to the monopoly that he had found that Google had illegally maintained. But he takes a slightly different tactic. He bars Google from entering into those deals in some cases, most notably when they are exclusive, but he does not ban them from paying for that great real estate entirely.
So what does that mean? That Apple could just be like, okay, sure, we'll take your $20 billion and you can be the main search engine when somebody opens up their browser, but we're also going to have DuckDuckGo?
Well, this is a big question. What is a non-exclusive default? It would seem that by the nature of a default, there is only one, right? But it was, for example, discussed during the trial that Apple could offer a different default in the normal browsing mode and in the private browsing mode, right? You could imagine that they would install a privacy-focused search engine as the default in incognito mode. So perhaps that is an example of a non-exclusive default, but where the rubber will hit the road on this part of the remedies is exactly how these two things that seem like they might be in conflict resolve.
Okay, so you mentioned there were two buckets. Sounds like that's one bucket.
The second bucket is requiring Google to share some of the data that makes it powerful.
Okay.
They will be required to syndicate their search results to quote-unquote qualified competitors. Essentially that a qualified competitor to Google could display Google's search results, which are seen as very high quality, rather than their own maybe inferior search results, right? Erasing that quality advantage. Now, the government didn't get everything they wanted there because Google is going to be able to do so basically on the terms of commercial agreements that they already have to do this. So it's not a huge change for them because they already offer deals like this, but of course now they're being required by a court to offer them. The second part of sharing what makes Google Google is they are required to give those qualified competitors the sort of top level of what is called the search index.
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, it's a kind of wonky term, but it basically means the corpus of web pages and information that make up Google results. And so they have to hand that over to rivals who have said that it's very hard to build your own search index. And so this was this kind of insurmountable advantage that only Google had. But there's a catch. The judge said that Google doesn't have to share a lot of the data it uses to rank the popularity of those pages, the kind of one layer down that they use to make really quality results.
Wait, that would seem like it's sort of the secret sauce, as you mentioned, to Google, right? Like the whole point of using Google is that you get the search results you want immediately, like on the top page.
Yeah, and the government wanted them to share all of the secret sauce, and ultimately the judge did mandate sharing of some data like that, but not all of what the government asked for.
But as you mentioned earlier, all this to say, he's not actually breaking up Google, which was one of the things that they were really worried about, right? Like he's not forcing them to spin off Chrome or Android products or anything like that.
That's right. And this was like the biggest ask that the government made. That Google be forced to spin off Chrome, it's a wildly popular web browser. It's used by billions of people around the world. And potentially, if competition didn't improve after the remedies, that the court be allowed to make them spin off Android, their smartphone operating system. And the logic behind this was that those are both places where Google is able to absorb search queries, right? People use the Chrome web browser to search for information through Google. And so the idea was it was a source of web traffic, which was really valuable to Google. The judge said no go. He said this was an overreach, that the government was asking for something so aggressive that wasn't justified under the law set in previous antitrust cases.
You know, as we talked about, it's a really unusual position for a judge to be in, to have to make such a huge decision while this whole technological transformation is underway in the background. And I'm just curious if he ever addressed that, or if that came up for you at all during the reporting.
Yeah, so in many ways, this is the broader framing of this ruling. He says, I'm not an expert in search engines, not an expert in artificial intelligence. He says it's not a judge's forte to look into a crystal ball and tell the future. And where that ultimately led him was this place. He said, a court needs to apply remedies like this with humility, and that's what I've done. And that logic led him to this pretty measured decision.
So it sort of seems like this AI boom that we've been talking about, in some ways, reverse the thinking on whether Google is a monopoly at all. Because Google basically argued, hey, look, we're not just competing against DuckDuckGo or Bing, we're competing against Amazon and Netflix, etc. And that wasn't compelling to the judge at the time, but now they actually legitimately do have tons of competition in another realm, which is AI. And so I wonder if that is the reason, in part, why the judge essentially gave them something that feels like a slap on the wrist, to a lot of people at least.
He said that it was a motivating factor in how he reached his decision. We talked about how he didn't ban those payments to Apple and Samsung and Mozilla for that great real estate for the search engine. And he said that one reason he was doing that was he felt that the explosion of these AI chatbots could create companies that could compete with Google on the merits. Basically, that perhaps Google's financial might, when met with a real challenge from an innovative company, would not be enough to ensure their dominance.
Which makes me just sort of wonder about where consumers fit into all of this, and how consumers are likely, if at all, going to feel the results of this ruling, or the remedy that the judge is recommending.
Yeah, and I don't know that consumers will see an impact from this immediately. Google is almost certain to appeal this underlying liability decision.
Which would take potentially years.
Potentially years. The government could appeal this remedies decision. So this will probably be mired in the courts for a long time, which could very well lead to the remedies being paused while that is being hashed out. And then the remedies themselves are not immediately about the consumer experience. They don't mandate, for example, a choice screen, which is a wonky term for basically a screen that pops up on your smartphone and says, which search engine do you want? That's something consumers would see immediately. That's not the direction the judge went.
Right.
And so instead, the question will be, does this sort of basket of changes shift the arc of the technology industry enough that maybe several years from now, consumers maybe do see more innovative products that compete with Google, that offer them that experience of finding information online in new and different ways, and ultimately allow companies that produce those products to really thrive despite Google's size and might.
So basically, like, it's not immediately clear how consumers are going to feel this, if at all, but it sounds like there could be downstream effects of this case that are unpredictable that consumers could feel.
There could be, and to understand how, it's helpful to look to the past. So more than 2 decades ago, the federal government sued Microsoft. This was the last big tech antitrust case to get this far, over allegations that Microsoft had hurt competition when it came to personal computers and internet browsers. They were battling with, I don't know if you remember Netscape.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. And ultimately the remedies in that case were not dissimilar from the remedies in this Google case. But there has been a persistent argument that the fact of that scrutiny was enough to make Microsoft afraid of its own shadow. Precisely at a time when the internet was enabling a new generation of startups.
Such as Google,
Such as Google. And that as a result, Microsoft was not as aggressive in competing against Google, and that case opened the door just enough for Google to become the company it is today.
It's kind of interesting, actually, to note that Google took advantage of a cultural shift at a company that was scared because of a government lawsuit. And now the question is, could there be a cultural shift at Google that would then maybe change the future landscape of tech in ways that are unpredictable now, but that consumers certainly may feel down the line?
That is one of the big questions. It was clear throughout this trial that Google has learned from the Microsoft experience. There were documents that came out that showed that they looked at the way that Microsoft had put itself at risk during its trial in order to guide their own policies around retaining documents and what people should say. A number of their lawyers, in different ways, had worked on the Microsoft case. One of their lawyers worked for Netscape. So it is clear that they have learned from that history before, and I think the question is, can they successfully avoid the trap that Microsoft may have fallen into?
So, in the Microsoft case, the biggest effect of that was not necessarily the actual outcome, but the fear of God that the government put into this company that then made it behave differently with its competitors. That led to the rise of this behemoth that is Google. And now we're having sort of a similar question, which is, will the very existence of this case affect the way that Google operates, affect its culture, affect how it feels spiritually about its competitors as we're on this sort of horizon of AI? And I just sort of wonder how you're thinking about the government's attempts to regulate an industry it has struggled to get its arms around throughout multiple administrations, Democrat and Republican.
I mean, this decision is a blow to those efforts. And it's striking to me because the Justice Department undertook a monumental effort to bring this case to trial. These rulings are landmark decisions. And still, when people looked at the ruling yesterday, their reaction was that it paled in comparison to the speed and scale at which the technology industry is barreling ahead. And I just read an interesting analysis by my colleague, Steve Lohr, who covered the Microsoft case. And he basically said that this is a new set of rules for the tech giant Python, but the game is still going. And so the question is, has the judge in this case changed the rules of the game enough to give one of the rookie players enough space on the field to compete with Google? Or have the rules changed too little and Google will just play the game again and win again?
David McCabe, pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back.
Let's be honest, most HR platforms aren't exactly a joy to use. Deal's different. It's AI native, keeps you compliant, and grows with your team, whether you're 5 people or 50,000. HR, IT, and payroll on one platform that just works. See for yourself at DEEL.com/NYT.
Hey, hold up. This is your minute, your day to play, to make, to move through, to explore. It's your body to rest, to nourish, to grow. It's your mind, you know. It's your place, your life, to love, to dream, to change. It's your world to understand. The New York Times. Find out more at nytimes.com/yourworld.
Here's what else you need to know today. As the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention deals with an exodus of top scientists, a number of states have decided to go their own contradictory ways on vaccines. California, Oregon, and Washington said they would work together to review scientific data, saying that the CDC could no longer be trusted. Florida, in contrast, said it would get rid of all vaccine requirements. The moves come at a moment of unparalleled turmoil at the CDC, where Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a vaccine skeptic, has taken control of the agency's vaccine decisions. And Harvard University won a crucial legal victory in its clash with the Trump administration on Wednesday, when a federal judge said that the government had broken the law by freezing billions of dollars in research funds in the name of stamping out anti-Semitism. The ruling may give Harvard more leverage in its ongoing settlement talks with the Trump administration, which Harvard had sued over the funding cuts. Today's episode was produced by Diana Wynn and Caitlin O'Keefe. It was edited by Liz O'Balin and Paige Cowett, and was engineered by Chris Wood. That's it for the Daily. I'm Rachel Abrams. See you tomorrow.
keeping us